Hello everyone, I'm Jay Coker, Chairman of the Board of Producers Rice Mill. As we've done in the past, we'd like to bring you what we refer to as our mid-season crop report. It's hard to believe that just maybe 2 months ago, mid-April, we were shooting video and showing you the planting progress and the equipment and the seeds and things. So here's what we started with. This was seed rice that we planted back in mid-April, first week of April. And here we are 2 months later, and you see how the crop's developed where it is. The rice crop is highly dependent on the weather, daytime temperatures, sunlight, clouds, duration, intensity of sun, all those things affect the development of the rice crop. I would say in the Mid-South, the traditional rice growing areas, we've received what we would say just normal weather patterns. We've had intermittent rainfall, we've had extreme rainfall events, we've had hail, we've had a lot of challenges from weather, but our daytime temperatures and our nighttime temperatures have stayed within a range that is pretty ideal for the development of the crop. We don't like to see daytime temperatures above 95, and we don't like for our nighttime temperatures to be higher than 75. So we kind of like to see it within that range, and that gives the crop the best chance to develop and progress as it normally would. One way we're able to gauge the development of the crop and kind of as a measuring stick, how the weather has affected it and if it is at the correct stage for this time of year. Fortunately, the University of Arkansas has a DD50 program through the Rice Research Experiment Station that they make available to all the growers, consultants, anybody within the industry, and it charts the heat units that are developed each day. And there's a formula that determines how many heat units accumulate up to this point. We're fortunate that we also can inspect the interior of the plant and see exactly where it is relative to what our DD50 program is telling us. As you notice, this is what we would call the beginning of the differentiation between the vegetative phase and reproductive phase of rice production. So when this elongation starts to exceed a ½ inch, then that's what we identify with that progression. So we would typically think this rice is about 60 days from harvest right now, which would put us right at August 20th or 25th, which is our typical starting date here in the central part of Arkansas, eastern areas of the state. As we've talked about in previous segments, rice can be grown under various conditions, different soil types, a lot of different management schemes. This field that we're in today is actually what we refer to as a contour levee field. So the levees are following a contour, much as you think about a mountainside being terraced or something along that nature. So these levees are terraced and they're helping control the water. In these instances, we also use irrigation practices called multiple inlet irrigation. That's where we're using polytubing to go down the side of the field. Each individual terrace or levee has its own individual water source. This goes back to data and reports that we have and research that indicates it's more conservation minded way to irrigate crops. It's more sustainable. We use less water. So this is a practice that most growers in the state have developed. Like I say, it's about 50–55% of the acreage is contour levees, and multiple inlet irrigation is one of the main conservation practices we use to grow rice with less water. You may ask yourself, well, how is the other 50% of the rice grown in the Mid-South? It's basically broke up into 3 different growing practices. We have the straight levees, which are contour levees that have just been improved and they've been straightened out. We have furrow irrigated rice, where we grow rice on a raised bed, like what you see soybeans and corn, where it's irrigated intermittently throughout the week down the rows. And then the practice that we're looking at where we are right now is what we refer to as zero graded. Zero graded is probably the most conservation minded of the rice production practices. Uses about 40% less water, so it's becoming more and more important. It's being embraced more by farmers, rice farmers in particular, in order to be able to maintain advanced conservation practices and to further reduce their footprint on carbon and water usage and things like that. It's not suited for every farm in every part of the rice growing area, but where it can be utilized, where it can be done, the fields can be leveled, and this can be done, it's becoming more and more popular. As rice farmers, we're all well aware of our irrigation techniques and our practices. The rice crop takes a certain amount of water each year. Mother Nature provides part of that. The other part we have to provide. We provide that in the most sustainable manner that we can develop. Conservation practices, ecological matters, financial impacts, those all play a part in how we determine our irrigation practices. It's imperative that we embrace and we utilize any excess water we can get our hands on. Surface water, bayous, rivers, streams, impoundments we've built ourselves, recovery ditches on our own farms to recoup excess water. Those are all measures that we try to embrace and that we try to develop and utilize, so we're recycling our water throughout the fields and throughout the year. This is a system where we're pumping water out of surface water, a large stream or bayou. This water will be pumped, utilized through the crop development throughout the year, and then when the crop is drained, it basically returns right back into this same system. So we're mindful of our impact on underground aquifer withdrawals, the utilization of surface water, and we always want to keep the conservation of those natural resources at mind. When we talk about Producers Rice Mill, we talk about rice production, rice farming, all those things that we've referenced today, conservation, sustainability, those are all great. But our employees are such a key to our operation, our success. We don't want to ever forget what all they contribute. Milling, packaging, shipping, the receiving of the green and dry rice at harvest, which will be here shortly. We want to thank all those that participate in that, and we appreciate all the efforts that they do. Sales, marketing, those endeavors are always a big part of Producers Rice Mill. Customers that come to us, fulfill your milled rice needs and have the confidence to come to Producers, we want to thank you. And without everybody working together, we wouldn't be able to reach the levels of success that we are. So we want to thank everyone and look forward to a good rest of the crop growing year, and we'll be back at harvest.